it's supposed to be rap and graffiti, and we will get into that. Slightly different. So again, carrying the culture, save the hip hop culture, the after party, episode 8, and we're gonna go right into it. We don't want to waste any time. We all know, and I'm gonna start it off. You can stop me at any time, but whether you fuck with any type of artist or not, and I guess I can only talk for myself, but I don't
any type of
any artist, anybody's artistry. So I don't fuck with Migos, right? And we'll let the cat out the bag. I don't fuck with Migos for whatever reason. At this point, it doesn't matter. I don't like hearing, not alone just anybody losing their life over some senseless bullshit, let alone an artist that's, you know, even though I don't fuck with their music and I give you a complete 180 of what they represent, I don't like hearing that. But I think we want to touch on a few little things here. And the main thing we want to touch on is, and I know you brought it up, and I know I've seen it, where people are talking about or making it seem like this violence in hip hop is a new thing. Like it's never happened before. And again, first and foremost, rest in peace. I don't even know the dude's name. And I apologize. Again, I don't mess with their music. But rest in peace to his family, to his comrades, to his whole staff, whatever it is. Again, I do not want to see. Come up, Andrew. What up, brother? I do not want to see anybody lose their life. But we are going to touch on that, right? It is senseless, but I want to touch on the fact that this is not anything new. A lot of people are coming out saying like we need to stop this, and yes, we do. Again, we definitely do. But we've been dealing with this. It kind of goes in waves. The violence stops for a while. It comes back. I don't know what route you want to take on shedding light on the violence here. And I know that sounds wrong, shedding light on violence, but do you want to go backwards like 80s, 90s, or do you want to discuss what happened this time around?
Well, both. I mean, so I want to start with saying that it's not only that it's not new, it's just the fact that people make it seem like these young cats are have just started this. Like, they're like, oh my God, it's so much more worse and shit. I'm like, yo, it ain't, it's no much more. It's just on the social media and shit more, man. That's all. Like, instantly you see the videos and stuff like that, but this shit's been going on forever. So I just feel like, listen, we crushed these young cats for everything. I mean, like, they didn't start shooting up shit, man. Like, people been shooting up shit like a long fucking time. Like, so, you know, I just think it's, you know, let's just be accurate about what we're saying in this shit. That it's like, because, you know, I see like the posts and people are like, oh, yo, what's up with these rap dudes and these young cats? Yo, this ain't, you know, they just wear skinny jeans, but they doing the same shit. They're doing the same shit. They just happen to look like fucking weirdos doing it. You know what I mean? But this has been going on forever. Self-destruction movement, all in the same gang. You know what I'm saying? Human education against lies, all of that. Before, even in the 70s, you know, this has been going on forever. So, you know, it just annoyed me that we were hearing the kids, you know, like the kids have started doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was shit going on. Born, we weren't like getting it instantly right after it happened, though. You know what I'm saying? It's a different thing now. You know that for a fact.
Well, let me give my 2 cents here. So, and Born is somewhat correct. Yeah, it wasn't back to back, and it wasn't artists, right? You didn't hear about, you know, out here in LA, a Run DMC show got shot up in Long Beach. Now, you didn't hear Rev Run get shot. JMJ, I mean, unfortunately, JMJ got shot later down the line. But it wasn't the artists getting shot themselves. We understand that. But the shit was getting shot up regardless. Look at Latin Quarters. Motherfuckers were getting their shit snatched. Now, I wasn't there, but through historical or verbal history or research, we know that. What I'm saying, what I want to make a point of right now is that, and you just said it, again, these new cats, whatever you want, whether you want to call them trap cats or the younger, whatever it is not new. We've been dealing with this shit forever. And it could be that our parents or our parents' generation were saying that of us. Oh, that rap shit, People get shot at that rap shit. That's what we're saying now. Oh yeah, these young cats, they're shooting up shit. They're getting, it's similar. Again, I know it's not the artists themselves getting shot back then, but my approach here is, and it sucks that I have to find a gateway to this, but it's also helpful, right? So back then, again, Run DMC gets shot up, motherfuckers' chains get snatched at Latin Quarters, a tunnel, whatever it is. What happened from that? When Scott LaRock gets shot, what did KRS do? Start to stop the violence movement, self-destruction, right? Out in the West Coast, we're all in the same gang. So something positive came out of something negative. Is it time for us as the elders or the youngsters as really saying enough of this shit? Can we really stand up and say, all right, now let's set something similar, set a foundation like KRS did and Bambaataa did and Zulu and Rocksteady and all of them, and set a foundation and get something positive out of this bullshit negative violence that's going on today? Because that's what happened back then. Can we do that?
I suppose. I mean, I think I won't say it's too little too late, but I mean, yeah, we can. I mean, it's on everybody to do that. It's always, listen, the world is always fucked up. So it's always the right time to like have organizations to like, we should have been on this shit. I mean, the violence never stopped. So whatever organizations that started in the 80s and 70s and 90s should have still gone on. Where are they? I mean, like, so
yeah.
It never stopped. It's like, we don't need any new shit. We need the shit that was still around to be around and be effective. I mean, so I think the attitude is different now, man. I think everyone's different. I think people are different. I think vibes are different. I think there's less respect. I mean, for elders, you know what I mean? There's just a lot of shit going on. There's a lot of resentment and shit like that between younger people and older people. And it's more than just, you know, this gang shit. I mean, or the gang shit, the violent shit. It's about like a lot of social shit stuff too, you know? So, I think.
And think about social, I mean, you said social media, right?
Yeah.
I personally will never understand this, and I don't want to stray away of what we're talking about, but have no idea who this cat was. I was scrolling through Instagram, and there was, I don't know if it was like Hot 97 or someone was interviewing, look at that. Someone was interviewing an artist, right? Now, me as an artist, I don't care how little money, how much money I'm getting. Tell me, and I have a point. Tell me why a rapper will show up to an interview at a warehouse or whatever it is with a microphone in front of him and lay out stacks of bills in front of him just for this interview. What are you trying to prove, right?
Well,
and again, I'll get to my point. There's no fucking point to that. Like, okay, through your music, we know you're rich. Or that money's fake in your friend, whatever it is. There's no point to floss all this money. Why do I bring that up? Because I think that's a big part of some of these artists getting shot or close to murder, because the eye is on you. Hey, I'm in so-and-so. Look at all this money I have. Look at the grill, blah, blah. Now we know where you're at, right? Because, again, social media. Back then, you would have to look at the bill, the flyer. All right, so-and-so is going to be there. Almost of a last-minute thing, and maybe that's why people, you know, criminals would let artists slide, brother, in terms of death and murder. But social media, you know where somebody is right away. All right, so-and-so posted that he's at some restaurant, got a bunch of dudes with him, and they're all, you know, carrying money, jewelry. Next thing you know, got a squad heading over to them immediately. So I think that's a big factor in this violence. Not that it's right, not that it's wrong. It's just, I think it's a big factor. Social media and dudes flossing out here what they pretend to have.
Well, Brother Jay and I talked about that extensively in our last build, man. About that was the whole build. He called it martyr rap, and how like they signed these deals. Yeah, but he talked about it like based through the music and shit. How they sign these deals that get them fucked up. These 360 deals, they get fucked up, and they got.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked about that, and how like you have to like you're supposed to now go out and floss like that to keep your shit going. So it's a different, yeah. So that's definitely affected things, man. Of course, that has changed the game because now
That's
these
that's
cats are
so fucked up, bro.
these yeah. So these cats feel obligated to put their shit out there like that, like on some like it's like ingrained in it's just some fucking weirdo shit, yo. So like flex and floss like that. So like and hip hop has always been about like I don't know, like floss. I mean, kind of just been a flamboyant or like just in your
Yeah,
face shit. So like these cats are taking it to another level. They don't know how to move in, man. They don't know how to like move with the money. So I will say this, and let's check the comments after. I will say this: the difference, and there's one difference. The reasons that cats are dying now is it seems to be a lot different than, or a little different than it was back in the day. Like there was actually real beefs going on back in the day. I mean, I guess real beefs sort of made some sense. Like this shit that's going on now is just like haphazard, like just kind of. I think, like I said, from what I heard, his own security killed him or some shit. I don't know, like some weird shit. Like,
yeah, and I apologize because I don't know the story. The last thing I heard, I don't think he was intended to be murdered, right? I think like a stray bullet or something. That's what I read.
oh yeah,
And I don't know. And again, it doesn't. I'm not trying to say
right.
I don't
We
care.
do know that it was senseless. That's what we know. And
Exactly, and that's the most important part. It's
it was.
senseless violence. There's no reason for it. And
Let's look at some
I'm personally, I mean, you did too, right? We both grew up in a scenario where, or the hood, right, or where violence was around us, whether it's high, low, a little bit here and there. So we know what it is. We've seen all that bullshit. I've seen friends, get killed, friends of friends, and cousins get locked up over this bullshit.
Let's look at the comment.
Yeah, let's see. Let me hold it.
So I want to address this. It says Black Pocahontas says, unfortunately, a lot. It's everybody out in this YouTube land. Unfortunately, a lot of the youth doesn't have parenting like we did back in the day. Parenting consists of working kids not getting real conversations. A lot of kids do not get dinner at the table. That's true, but that was true in 1992, 1985. Single mom. My mom was a single mom. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's still true, unfortunately. What you're saying is accurate, but it was accurate
Back then too. Yeah.
30, 40 years ago, unfortunately, and Black and for the lack of a better word, Latino communities. So,
yeah, I mean, let me touch on that real quick because I think, yeah, it is true, and you're right. That was also true back then because, I mean, I came up from a household where both my parents were there. And we've talked about this. I won't get too much into it, but I didn't need anything, right? We weren't poor, we weren't rich, but I knew what was going on. And if I would have gone the route that I was going to before I met my wife, then it would have been one of those situations where like, how the fuck did I end up there if I had everything I needed, right? Again, wasn't rich, wasn't well off, but it was just it was steady. Yeah. And it's basically because of the principles and the conversations I would have with moms and pops and all that. But I would have friends, and hence why I was going that route, friends where the parents are great parents, but they were always at work. And because they were always at work, they had nowhere to go. And because they had nowhere to go, they were on the block. And I was with my friends on the block because those were my dudes from high school or from junior high. And I was just getting caught up. So yes, it's correct. And even though these days, I think the difference these days is that lack of respect, that lack of boundary. Back then we knew simple. Back then, even though we would rebel, like I sneaked out and did my thing, but like you knew, like the lights came on, all right, gotta go, I gotta go home. Or there was that some kind of respect. My moms or my pops from a distance can give me a look. And I'm talking about younger, not when I was in my teens, but they can give me a look and I'd be like, shit, I'm in trouble. Fuck. And I built this anticipation, like, holy shit. These days, these kids are testing their parents. Where is that respect? I think whatever that is there, the lack of respect or whatever that is, lack of discipline from one or the other, I think that is maybe what we're talking about on that comment too.
Well, and also a couple of people pointed out. Let's just address, because that comment she said, parenting. A couple of people said, Born and Janine said, these dudes are 30 years old, so they ain't kids. I mean, but I think if she's talking about maybe that affecting them growing up, I don't know, but like, so just to point that out, they're not 16, 17, they were 30. I mean, a lot of these particular dudes, but I mean, people are, the other kid was 30, that P&B Rock kid or something like that. So, and I don't know. I mean, so I think, I think parenting plays a part, but I mean, I think, I'm just saying, man, I just know for a fact that people were getting robbed over starter jackets, 8-ball jackets, Aberex jackets, fucking Pelly coats.
Speak on it. Yes, sir.
And back in the day, I'm not talking about just the rap shit. I'm just saying, like, teens were violent. I know that the 90s was violent. Like, we were violent. My whole crew was violent. Like, everybody was violent. Shows were getting shot up on the reg. Like, so I'm just saying, my whole point with all of this is that these kids didn't start this shit. Like, they didn't start it. If anything, they're a byproduct of our bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't just start. Yeah, maybe it's getting worse. Okay, maybe it's getting worse, but it's been around. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, shit was going down back in the day with kids and youth. Like, fucking cats were catching $150s left and right everywhere. Oh, yeah. Like, so I don't know. That's the only point I was trying to make yesterday when I did this post was that it didn't start with these kids. Yeah, maybe it looks more wild. Maybe it seems more brazen because we've seen the videos now and stuff like that. But, all I know is, man, like, yo, Born, you've told me, family, you've told me that, like, niggas would take, like, the long way to school, wouldn't ride certain trains and shit because of the DSEPs. You know what I'm saying? Because in high school, like, niggas would take different stops and shit and like riding the train to school in Brooklyn was like a motherfucking fearful for your life just in school. So that's all I'm saying. Youth been violent, kids been violent, younger people, mid-20s, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's been there, yo. Like, it's always been there. Maybe we should try to focus on how we can combat it. You know what I mean? Rather than talking about those, like, why it started. You know what I mean? But whatever.
And to me, and I don't want this video or a conversation to sound like I'm trying to compare our generation to this generation, because I'm not. But I'm gonna do a few examples. But again, so there's been violence there's been violence for a very long time, pre-hip hop. So that's just that. But so again, Scott LaRock gets killed. A positive always has to come out of a negative, right? It has to. We're not growing as a species, the human species, if we don't, as a person, as a man, as a woman, as whatever. So again, whoever it was, KRS, Boogie Down, whatever it is, he created a movement, and it was passionate. It wasn't just like, I'm gonna call it this, I'm gonna run around calling it that, not really do much in the background, but these dudes were for it. Kumo D. I mean, they had music, and it wasn't just down to the music. You had a panel of artists and backup from, whether it was the 5% Nation, Gods and Earth, whatever it was. They had backup, making sure that flower grew from the dirt, meaning positive out of a negative. So why I bring that up is because if the youth, I know they're 30, but if the youth today, and I do mean, 30 to me is young, so I kind of throw them in there. If the youth today is sick of the artists of their generation getting killed, the violence, then they are really the ones holding the torch. Let's start a positive movement and not just scream it, because these days it's easy to say, oh, I'm gonna do an Instagram page. My handle's gonna be Stop the Violence too, or whatever the fuck. And it just stays as an IG handle. It's nothing's done in the background. No actual movement. No marching. No setting up events. No nothing. It's just let's talk about it real quick. Some positivity. 2 or 3 weeks later, we forget about it. Another 2 or 3 weeks later, another person gets killed, and then we're back in the same cycle, but nothing happens. I think the youth right now has that torch where we can start that again.
Yeah, real quick. I think we need to clarify what we're discussing.
Yes, sir.
Are we discussing, because based on some of the comments, like it's from Born and other people, are we just, so Born is focusing mostly on rappers. I'm looking at just violence, because it's not just the rappers. I'm looking at the violence amongst the youth in general, which is still there.
Oh, yeah.
So are we discussing violence in general, in just specifically in hip hop only, or are we discussing youth and violence? What do you consider youth? Because to me, being 46, if you're 30, you're young. You're youth to me.
Exactly. That's why I mentioned.
So that's what.
To me, 30 is youth.
It was like all these people 30 years old. To me, you're still a fucking kid, man. I mean, we're young, but I don't know. So what's the parameters here? Are we discussing just hip hop?
No, honestly, I think we're discussing because hip hop is everything, right? We're on the streets is hip hop. I mean, you can be a Mexican gangbanger, you can be a black gangbanger, but somehow hip hop comes into it. I'm talking in general, life in general, the youth, the violence. It just so happens that the gang shit and the violence stuff bleeds into the hip hop culture.
Right. So am I. I'm talking in general because to me, it's not just exclusive to hip hop. I mean, or rap. So that's Born. So that's what we're. I mean, I get it. You're saying these rappers. He was saying like, oh, rappers weren't getting killed like whimsically and like just on some dumb shit. And maybe you're right. I mean, I think Tupac and Biggie's murders were both stupid because they weren't even really. From what I hear, that wasn't even a real beat for some shit. So I don't know. I think all murders in rap have been dumb, probably. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I can't think of any smart murder that happened in rap over the years that was like, oh, that was a murder that needed to happen. So we're talking in general then, right? So that's for the sake of discussion. We're talking in general. Youth means, I mean, let's say what, to me, youth is like, for the sake of, we can even move it down, like 25 and under to me. Like if you're 25.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I say 30. I mean, 35 is already like, all right, cool. But it's known, right? As a man, we don't mature. I mean, with a few exceptions, we don't mature until forever, right? So, yeah, I would say, me personally, I would say 30 under. 25 is maybe a good medium. But, yeah, I mean, you're young. That's young.
You don't gotta be quiet. You don't gotta be quiet, man. I mean, but for the sake of this discussion, though, that's what we're discussing, though. You know what I'm saying? So that way,
No, Born, we appreciate, we definitely don't want people to be quiet. I think
it's not just
what the brother right here was saying is just the way we were approaching it. But please don't be quiet. This is why we're doing this. We want our people. I don't even call you guys followers. Our people to. It takes a village, right? And with me saying somebody has to stand up so we can change the shit. We can't just stand back and say, "Oh, that sucks. When is it gonna stop?" Yeah, okay. It starts with us. It starts with that person that said that. So. Again, I don't want you to be quiet. It takes a village to change the village, and that's why we're having this conversation.
He fucking around. That's my man. He fucking around a little bit, but
all right, boy. That's good. That's good. I appreciate.
But on some real shit though, I mean, no, I just realized, you were talking about something slightly different. Yeah, if we're talking about rap, maybe, I mean, let's keep it. Dudes are getting clapped left and right these days. I mean, let's keep it on it. So, so let's talk. You want to talk solution before we switch to graph in 15 minutes?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Let's like solution shit. I mean, again, to me, it's bigger than rap, so it's the whole shit, right? Like it's the whole joint. So like, someone mentioned parenting, like, all right, parents still ain't around, so we need them around. I mean, we can talk all night about this shit. It's so many layers. It's not just one.
Of course.
Okay. you do this and everything will be straight. Nah, man. Like some people are like, I mean, so I do know this. You're not reaching any fucking troubled kid after the age of 10. You're not. I know that you're not. Not in 2022 because 10 they're really 14 and fucking like the shit that they
That's a
do and
great
the shit
point.
that they know. So it's different. 10 now is not the same as 10 back in 1986 when you're dressed all fucking goofy and you got your whatever shit on, like and you didn't have loot, and so it's different now. So I will say this: whatever social service program there is, you ain't. It's gonna be a hard fucking haul to reach a kid after the age of 10 or 11, man. Like, swear to God. Like, and I've been in social service programs and I've seen the difference. They because by 12, 13, their peer group is their friends, not your fucking parents and shit. So you've learned what you've learned. And if you ain't learned it, then now you're learning it on the street. You know what I mean? Or
So,
whenever.
and you're right. So learning I guess I'll say a bad habit, right? So learning a bad habit is fucking easy as fuck. Is as simple as I'm gonna steal that candy. Holy shit, I got away with it. Stealing that candy can easily lead to, breaking and entering. All right, I got, getting away with certain shit. Unlearning it after you feel that rush, and let's be honest, we've both felt the rush of some kind of illegal action, right? Whether you're bombing the streets or whether whatever it is, you jump somebody or you're in a fight. There's, I'm not gonna lie, and this is raw as fuck, but there's a certain high you get from that. I understand that. Unlearning all that shit is a lot harder to do that. I'm gonna get into some talking crazy constant elevation shit right now. We have to make it okay. And I can only speak for the male. As a man, especially in the Mexican community or Latin Spanish speaking community, it's a lot of be a man, don't cry, fucking walk it off. We have to make it okay to talk about your feelings. I'm not talking about like, always crying and all that shit. Because eventually you have to, boom, let's go, let's do it. But we have to make it okay for, again, growing up as a kid, okay for you to express your feelings to a friend, right? Because me growing up, I mean, my wife and I were just talking about this. It's a completely different era. I mean, the problems today, and we were actually talking about more medical issues, right? And no disrespect to anybody, but like kids with ADHD and just a bunch of other shit, right? I hear it so much these days, and so-and-so's kid has this, and I'm like, wait, when I was going to school, I never heard of these shits. Now that's the diet, that's the food you eat, and again, we're not going to get into that, but it is similar. Growing up, when the fuck would I thought like, oh yeah, my parents are having trouble with money. Again, you're a kid, and that's not what you're really talking about. But would I feel comfortable going to my friend Eric or going to my friend Eddie and say like, yeah, this is not, because it was like, oh, dude, you're soft. Nah, let's go play ball. Nah, having that ability, that vulnerable position of just having a conversation with your peoples, with your mens, again, it doesn't, I didn't get to that point until I was like maybe 30. Why does it have to be until 30 that I feel comfortable to talk about my feelings and shit that's going on? Again, not to everybody, because not everybody's that real friend, but at least have that ability to go to somebody and talk. Because some of that, again, pre-10-year-old these days, issues in the household might be prevented if we were able to do that. But again, as a kid, it's different.
Yeah, I'm just reading the comments. No, it's.
I'll give you something to cry about. Yeah, that's true and true all day.
Yeah, absolutely. My mom says some shit like that too. So, I mean,
That's
that's
tough love. I get it. There's tough love, bro. Like these days, again, I'll talk about this. And I don't know if this is an issue, but back then, fuck yeah, I got hit. It wasn't on some I'm gonna call the cop shit. And me thinking that would scare me even more. But it was never an abusive situation. But it was like, bam, I got hit. Never in the face, but I got hit. And it's like, shit, I never did it again.
yeah.
These days, it's like these kids are almost like, do it.
Listen,
Like,
I'm gonna keep it 100, and I think maybe There's probably a couple people, 15 people in here. Right, my mom should be in jail for this shit. My mom bust my ass. Like my mom is 5'2", and she's like my energy times like 100. Like she came at me with all kinds of shit at times. She was a single mom, and then I started cutting up, and I started bucking up and shit. Yo, my mom is come. I can't even. Yo, listen, my today my mom would be in jail, like straight the fuck up. You know what I mean? I love her to death. That's my fucking world. You know what I mean? But she would listen. She would be in jail. Like she bust my.
I get it. I
Like,
man, I
he's like,
get it.
you ain't getting. I caught like. I learned like crazy reflexes, like fucking like I was, you know what I'm saying? So
Do you think I'm right though? Like again, there is a fine line, right? I mean, there's a point where it's like, all right, if my dad would sock me in the face with a closed fist with all his might, okay, that's far fetched. But I can tell you this: one of my cousins, a lot older, and this was he lives here, but he was in Mexico. So my grandfather, which ironically, not ironically, but just crazily lived until he's 114 years old. Um, he stole something from like the local market or some shit like that. My grandfather hung him from a tree from his arms like this,
word up, Chucky.
took a machete sideways, right, and spanked him several times on the ass. Sideways. I mean, imagine your hand slips. Dude would have been sliced in half. And we all laugh about it today. He laughs about it. Rest in peace, my grandfather, when he was talking about it, he laughed. But my cousin will say all day, it shaped him. Like, that might be a bit much for today's mind, and people can't probably fathom that. But yeah, man, I'm telling you, like, I got hit, and I never saw it like I'm getting, physically abused. Nah, dude, it was just, discipline. But that shit won't happen these days.
No, because somebody said, yo,
That
they'll
shit did
call.
hit. That shit did hit. So
They'll call. Yo, like, listen, you can't, no, yo, I know parents personally who have gotten in trouble for like leaving their kids somewhere, like they were too young. Like you're not supposed to, like in most states now, especially like, Democratic states, you can't leave your kids somewhere if they're under like 12, yo, like by themselves. They got to be like 13 or some shit. Just like legally, you can get in trouble for that shit, man. So, it's different, yo. It's different. A lot of things are different. I mean, I don't know. So I'm not going to pretend to be a 20-year-old kid because I'm not. But it's a different age, different era that we're in. So
yeah.
but
So what do we do? Just to kind of, so we want to close this little segment out.
mm,
Um, is there a way out of this? I mean, I gave my piece. I think the youth has the torch right now. We can say something, but eventually there's going to be that backlash because we're the old heads. Oh, you don't know anything, blah blah. I mean, I would still put my 2 cents and do what I need to do in the community and shit like that. But my community is my community. I don't pull strings across the world, let alone the U.S.
well, I think again, this isn't just related to hip hop. So it's a collective effort, right?
Right, right.
Like, here's the thing: when you reach kids when they're young and teach them values, they become good kids and then they become good adults. So, bottom line is, I mean, there's no one answer, right? But on all fronts, get to these fucking babies early and teach them values. Period. Like whatever it is, whether you're an MC, whether you do sports, you're a sports coach or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like all the shit. Like I mean, there's no. I mean, I'm just saying, like in terms of setting up the future. Like now, as far as like motherfuckers that are like 20 years old now, there ain't shit you can do about no fucking 20-year-old right out there running around with no gun. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, and that's gonna be if they change, that's gonna be on them. You're not gonna reach them, so fuck them. Ain't nothing you can do with them but duck. You know what I'm saying? Like they're gonna do what they fucking do. So, you know, you gotta like reach the kids, man. You know what I'm saying? Like early, however it is. Like do so whatever social program is. If you can shit with more parenting support, whatever. Like it's about getting them early before they become like. By the time they're 13, yo, it's a wrap, b. And it's always been like that. So not now. I mean, by the time they're 13, it's a fucking wrap, yo. Like they on they on whatever they want, and if they're gonna be good, they're gonna be straight. They're gonna get good grades. If not, they're gonna fucking. You already know, man, where they fucking.
They're gonna do what they're gonna do.
So, to me, that's the bottom line. Just get the kids early, yo. It's always, good kids equal good teenagers equal good adults. I mean, we've seen like really good kids, right? Like we're like, damn, this kid's fucking angelic. Like, who the fuck sent this fucking cherub of love down? You know, like, like we've seen some like really, like wow, polite, well spoken, well mannered. You know what I mean? Like it can be done. But you're not reaching no fucking 18-year-olds, man. So don't even bother with no fucking like they either gonna figure it out or they're gonna fucking kill you. So
I was just gonna say that because eventually, I mean, because again, we did our thing, right? But I always tell my wife, mom always makes fun of me because it's like she's like, well, did you ever see your life like this? How you're living it now? I'm like, I didn't see my life 2 or 3 days in the future. I was just kind of living in the now. Like right. I never did that. So to say I saw myself always bombing, doing I didn't. It was that's just what I was doing. But in retrospect, yeah, of course I wouldn't have thought of, I'm going to be bombing at 40 and 50. No, but for whatever reason, and I know the reason, but for whatever reason, I stopped doing that. But I could have gotten caught. I could have gotten caught up with my friends from the block, and I wouldn't be here on some stupid shit. Again, I grew up in a good household, but it's that one decision that just. So you're right though. 20-year-old, they're gonna figure it out at their own time, and hopefully it's sooner than later.
Right. So
Colombia, saludos to Colombia.
Reach the kids, big up Hakeem Green. So we're gonna get into graffiti now.
Let's get into a little graffiti. Change up the pace a little bit. We'll talk on some graffiti shit. I appreciate everybody tuning in. This is really, I really wanted to get into this conversation because even though we're on some hip hop shit and the streets and all that, but this is reality, right? It's what we do. Let me pin this real quick.
Right.
So, so now we're moving on. A little lighter stuff, a little more on the graffiti stuff. I'll let you take it if you want.
Sure. Yeah, we had two topics. So I wanted to get on a topic of female writers, and some might say, "Oh, this is," I guess the term is "man speak" or whatever. Like when you talk on like shit related to women, but it's just an interesting phenomenon that I've seen. Like, because I'm hearing some resentment about like dudes feeling resentful towards female writers because they're getting like all this love, but they're not putting in their dues, you know what I mean? And so, but I've seen some female writers that are really dope, and then my man he'll be like, yo, all she does is fucking, like, again, it goes back to like the gallery shit. Like, a lot of people, I mean, this kind of spills over. They're getting some resentment because they're coming out as like gallery artists and just doing like, just productions and shit and not
putting in the work.
Not putting in the work. Supposedly. I don't know. You know what I mean? I mean we're not on that scene. I just thought it was an interesting thing because I have met some dope female writers, but and then I've met I've seen some where I'm like, man, like she's kind of whack, but her shit is like blowing the fuck up. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, she's not even that good. So I don't know. I mean, just curious of your thoughts. I think it's tough being a female writer if you're a real writer though, because you got to be in some like grimy shit. You know what I mean? Like if you're really about it, you know what I mean?
So we have to look at it in levels, right? And we really, as people called me a purist, and they try to make it seem like it's a bad thing, right? They do it as a bad word or something. Yeah, I take it. I'm a purist all day, not a problem. But we as purists really have to stand back, right? Because there's levels to this. You know, you have your bombers and we talked about this, bombers that are just fuck the system, fuck a camera, fuck a soundtrack, fuck a permission wall. I'm out to bomb, fuck everybody. Then you have your bombers or taggers or writers that, yeah, they want to be seen. They not seen physically, but they want their names to be seen, and it's more like a cap where more rather than, you know, quantity over quality. I don't need to have my shit all nice blockbuster piece. It's just my name, how much I can get it, how high I can get it. Then you have those. Then you have the, like you said, the gallery, frat boy type of, you know, hey, drive me to the hood. Like you said last time, drive me to the hood. Let's have like 20 people guarding me. I'll take a quick picture and act like I've been here all day type of shit. Now, all of that is fine, right? With the exception of the last one, I personally have a problem with that, but it's there. We have to acknowledge it. Now, with the women, I think the reason why they're getting more love is because you don't normally see, at least to the naked eye, you don't see a female getting up. That's not a thing you hear. When you hear bombing, just subconsciously, it's a dude. Because again, because the griminess, we see the female as fragile. Oh, she's angelic, or yeah, let me holler at her. Nah, there's some females that'll get it in, and I think that's why they're getting the attention is a little more filtered, a bit more amped, because we don't normally see that. Same with graffiti, same with MCs, beatboxers, producers, whatever, DJs. You just myself included. So when I see a female DJ fucking going off, it could be that same routine that a female does, done by a male, and it could be mediocre. But if I see a female do it, I'd have a different response, and that's subconscious because again, you don't normally see that. But yeah, man, I think it's dope, and it is. I mean, again, we talked about the whole rap thing with females. You know, it's hard to be a female rapper in a male-driven industry. It's hard to be a female graffiti writer or bomber when it's more of a dark, grimy, I don't want to call it industry, but, you know, element, right? Yeah. Because, again, really, and no disrespect to the females, but it's like, really, it's dark, and you're going to be in the alley and do it. Like, damn. I mean, to me, you get more respect than that. A dude, you know, all right, put my dukes up, but you're out as a female. They're, you know, rapists and fucking homeless people, and, you know, it's just all sorts of shit. So I'm okay with it. Now, when it comes to the whole gallery type shit, I mean, I'm old enough to have gone through my Grinch era where it's like, nah, fuck this, fuck that, and I sit back now and just enjoy it all.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Sound response. I mean, and the point you made is valid because I saw that in my b-boy crew, every dance crew I was in, whatever girls we had whenever they went and they did some shit in this, and they were dope, but like they got way more love than
bigger response. Yeah, it's just a subconscious thing. Yeah, it's just
like, they were like flipping around. Like my homegirl hit like a fucking head spin or some shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? It'd be like, oh my God. Like, you know, so I get it. All right, what you got?
So I'm probably going to go with, you know, I had like, tagger fashion in Cali. I don't know if that fits too much with what we're talking about right now, but so I'll probably go more with like solo writers versus.
About that.
Huh?
Hey, I wanted to ask you. I wanted you to go with solo and crew.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool. So solo versus.
We got naps and dreams.
I'm gonna ask you the question, and I'll tell you what I think. But out here in Southern California, I can't say LA because I didn't grow up in LA, even though I was there constantly. But out here, I mean, you really saw crews. Now you could see names.
You said rarely, really.
Huh?
Rarely or really so?
Really.
Oh, okay.
You really yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. You really saw a lot of crews. Even though you'd see names. Like I remember, and Rubik's, I mean, I know we're from different areas, or any other LA people, you guys can tell me. But what I remember, at least out in the OC, it was like, if I run with the crew, I'm going to put my crew up before my own name. The names used to be like the little tag. The pieces or the throw-ups were the crew name. And again, not to say this is one is better than the other, but there you go. CBS, RTN, AWR.
Yes.
You know, legends. But
yeah, of course. I mean,
these days, MSK. So these days, I see a lot more solo artists or writers. Let's put it that way. With the exception of, like, again, if CBS does something, or if there's, despite that, like, just let's put that aside. I'm seeing a lot more solo writers. What do you think is there a difference? Is one better for the culture than the other? Does it not matter? What do you remember seeing growing up? Were there more crews as opposed to solos?
Yeah, I'm pumped talking about this. I think it's a dope topic. Big up to all the writers on the page, or on the show. So, my personal experience, like
you got a smirk on your face, so I know you're probably gonna get right the fuck into this.
No, I mean, I'm happy. I'm just very happy to talk. I like talking about this shit. So, I mean, I like going deep into the real shit, man. And, you know what I'm saying? And just like, if I participated in something, I get happy talking about it. So,
right on.
My personal experience was, like, we had a crew. It was just me and two other dudes. Like, my big up to my man Trev Lowe. Like, it wasn't a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, for us, like, because people wasn't really, like, nobody was really trying to, like, accept no other people in the crew. It was a weird time when we started writing in Connecticut anyway. So, like, shit was already established. Dudes, it was like really wasn't, like, you kind of had to, like, really fight and scratch to fucking get up and shit. Like, everyone was going over your shit. Like, so, like, it was hard to, like, train and get better, like, out there, like, because, like, when, I don't know, we didn't have the best, like, teacher. You know, it wasn't like nobody took us under our wing. The way people wasn't fucking with us. But I always thought the idea of graffiti crews was just dope, like, just in general, like, you know what I'm saying, you talking about some legendary crews out in LA, you know what I'm saying, out in New York, there was some Connecticut, High Crew 3A, New York, Tats, a lot of crews, so FC, IBM, TC5, big up my man Totem, 01. But I think it's dope. I mean, I don't think one's better than the other. Someone said it doesn't matter. But like, personally, I liked going out solo. I like going out with just one person. I liked it. I wasn't trying to go out with like 10 cats and not go bombing. I mean, that's too hot, man. So it was just me. Big up to UTI crew, my man Fu. Yeah, like, I personally like going out, like, just solo. Big up Tame One. Yeah, like, it was just more like, I felt like I had more control of, like, shit if shit went down. So, like,
of course, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So but I think, yeah. So, like, some people, and I think a lot of it depends on personality too, right? Because some people are so ninja about writing, man, like that, like, nobody even knows they write. You know what I'm saying? It's different with people. Your heart drives, like, who you are also is going to influence, like, whether or not you're, like, a part of a crew or not. Like, some people don't want to fuck with no people and shit and, like, deal with no crew politics,
Yeah.
Shorties coming into the picture, because that shit happens. You fucking somebody girl, now you going over their shit. You know what I mean? Shit, so stupid shit. So we didn't have that. It was just me and my two homies, you know what I'm saying? and we got up once in a while like solo like together, but we just had a crew and then we just individually just got up and rep the crew. You know what I'm saying? So,
That's crazy. That's crazy you said that because that's how we talked about it, right? So I created a crew. I'll say it all day. I used to be like, nah, I'm not gonna say it. NFRK TKI all day. That's what we were rocking. And it was only there was three of us at first, same three of us, and then it turned like 8, 9, somewhere around there. And then when it got to the double digits, 10, 11, I started noticing, not that I wanted control of it, but it was always like, I can't say I'm a control freak, but even till this day, like when I had my youth street team, it was always like I had to keep the discipline. I almost saw it as a brand, right? Today, so like today, Save the Hip Hop Culture. If we're going out to an event, all right, guys. Not that we have to stay together, but you're representing the brand, so we got to keep this boom boom respectful, blah, blah, and that's how it was before. So when we got like 10 and above, I started noticing that I really didn't have. It's gonna sound like I'm a control freak, but I didn't really have control. And unfortunately, that led to little beefs that I didn't want to have. Not because I was scared, but it was just like, that's not what we're about. We're about, the name, bombing, and all that. Um, and unfortunately, I had to let it go because of that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it on the solo tip. And I messed with a few people here and there. I went out bombing with people from other crews that it was just let me hitch the ride or whatever. That's who I can get cans from, and let's just go. So that's why I brought up the question, because I've done it both. Gone out with, I never went out with more than 5 people. And again, keep in mind at the time that I was bombing, or very short time that I was bombing, I didn't have a car. So it's like, who's driving? Who the fuck cares? Let's just get the cans and let's go. So yeah, I don't think I ever went out with more than 6 people, but I personally, I'm with you. I liked it better when I was by myself. I can do what I wanted. I didn't have to be like, oh, so and so needs help, or so and so has to go home. So like, nah, dude, if I wanted to stay out there for a sec, and it didn't happen too often where I was out by myself, because it was that high of, hey, sneak out. There's 2 or 3 of us. Let's go, and that's what it was. It wasn't until like the late 90s that I was like 97, 98, where it's like, all right, so now I was getting around by myself and doing the hit up on the way home or whatever. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, because I was thinking about that, and I'm like, I don't know how it was out in the East, Connecticut, and I know you said you were in Cleveland for a while. So again, out here, it was crews. The crews were the main thing. That's why CBS, MSK, those names are huge. Now you get to the point where there's like solo artists, now where it's like the name is more prominent. No disrespect. The tagger name is more prominent than the crew, where it's like a tumor or whatever. Like, oh yeah, that name is, whoa. So I don't know. These days, again, I'm seeing a lot of solo. Not that it's bad, not that it's good. It's just something that I noticed, and we noticed it too when you were out here. It was just names. It wasn't like a acronym for something. It was just names, names, names.
no, yeah, I think people are just out doing their shit, man. You know what I mean? You have more control over your shit solo. So, like, so, um, one thing I wanted to ask you about was like, what's your thoughts on iPad graffiti? I don't. I mean, I think it's another medium, which like marker or whatever. But like, from what I've seen and just heard through like somebody like hardcore graffiti cats, is that like there's people that's the only thing they do as far as like medium. Like they can't rock. They don't rock with cans. Don't even try can. Nothing. Like no nothing. No paint. Like no markers. Nothing. I mean just the iPad. So
Yeah.
I was curious what you thought about that.
Like, I mean, I kind of touched on it earlier. Like, I'm old enough to sit back and and I'm able to appreciate, for the most part, that art. But to me, digital, like I've seen, and no disrespect to this dude, I think it's Simon D or something like that. I've seen, can't remember what his handle is. Beautiful art. But what I've noticed, and here's my ignorance, I don't know how it works, but I've noticed where it's like you just touch this color, boom, the whole thing is that color, and you're able to stretch out the word. So to me, it's kind of like, well, are you really the artist, or is it something pre in that program, and you're just like, again, I'm not trying to put it down. I just don't feel it's as artistic as it would be if you were to get a black book and sit down and mesh the colors together, do the outline and all that, or even changing caps, or being able to do a flare, or if you're down to like the last quarter of your can and making it work to your benefit, right? The spray kind of all weird and punching a hole through it and just all that. It's completely different. I don't dislike it, but I don't like it. It works really, to me, it works better for, let's be honest, Instagram, when it first came out, it was more for pictures. It wasn't for brands and selling shit and all that. It was, let's post your pictures. So to me, digital graffiti is more of an Instagram show off. Hey, this is nice. But to say, oh, that's like a road writer or a graffiti, nah, that's, because again, I've seen how these programs are pre-installed with certain colors, certain fonts, where it's like, that's not really what you did, right? You kind of outline, I don't know.
Right. Well, so there are those, and then there are some where I've just seen dudes, people actually just draw shit. You know what I'm saying? Which is, like, I mean, I'm an artist with different things. I mean, I went to school for graphic design, so like, I mean, does it, if there's a point where it crosses over to graphic design or whatever, you know what I mean? I don't know, like, so I think it's interesting. And as Rubik said, there is a lane for everything.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lane, whatever you collect, whatever you like, whatever the fuck you want to do, there's a lane for it. And that's why I say you just find that shit and you settle there and be like, oh, okay, this is what my groove is. So, I don't have a problem with it per se. It's just, again, having come from like running from the cops, sleeping in like fucking like bushes and shit and like in like mud and stuff like that, getting ripped up on barbed wire, dogs chasing me, dudes shooting at you for writing on their shit. Like, it's hard when someone's like, oh, I'm a graffiti writer, a graffiti artist, and they've never left their fucking living room, you know what I mean? And they just, just do that shit. Like, I'm cool with shit as an addition to going out and writing, but like, if it's just like, this is all I do, okay, you say, okay, I do digital graffiti or something. Like, you just gotta,
don't put yourself in that same category. Absolutely.
I'm the movie like, oh, I'm a graph writer. Fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, and I don't write anymore. I'm not active. People know I fucking come with the, the marker, but no, you're not a writer. I mean, I can't say that. I mean, that's
no. I told you about this dude in high school. His name, ironically, he has the same name as me, and he sat behind me, and he was always drawing. I never really saw what it was until one day. I can't remember what happened. Mr. Lee's class. I remember this like it was yesterday. I turned back and I'm like, oh, this dude's doing a piece like on this black book. I'm like, oh shit. So at the end of the class, I'm like, you right? And he's like, oh yeah. Just kind of, I can't remember what he said specifically that, but I'm like, all right, cool. And then later down the line, it was like, oh, this dude's never picked up a spray can in his life. Back then, I'm like, fuck out of here. Today, I'm like, oh, you're nice with the pen on paper. Why I bring it up is because you could be fucking super dope digitally. Again, I'm not trying to say it doesn't take talent. It absolutely takes talent, because you give me an iPad or whatever program, I'll make something, and it's not going to be as nice. So it obviously takes skill. But those are you're not a graffiti writer, right? If you're doing that, digital graffiti, you're a digital artist, right? But you're not a bomber, you're not a writer.
That's all.
Specific for us purists.
We're just making a distinction. I mean, it's not like I just wanted to talk about it. Like, it's not bad.
Yeah. It's not bad. Again, yeah, of course.
I like different types. We like different types of art. Like, so it's not like that's terrible. It's just we're just making a distinction about it because an emerging thing that's been going on for a while. So that's all. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Again,
Like,
I think I'm old enough to sit back and like, all right, I can appreciate certain things, and
right.
you would have asked me maybe 2, 3 years ago, I might have been still beyond
Same
that shit. But now it's kind
word.
of like, you know what? That takes too much of my energy. I've actually found a soft spot in my heart for certain things like that. So I acknowledge it. Do your thing. It's all good.
It's 11:04.
Brother, I appreciate you. This was a dope talk, and hopefully we can get on some real life shit again. That's why I brought up, like, I was gonna get on some talking crazy constant elevation stuff, because I love, and I always say this, but I love what you do with A Plus and Brother J. And not that I'm trying to bite it, but I think it's important, especially when we're talking about violence, how to preserve youth life, and all that good stuff. So I appreciate you getting on with me tonight.
Nah, man, the more we talk about it, the better. It's not like it's not anything. You family, so we gotta, you know, yeah, we gotta just keep talking about it, all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like, the more people to talk about, everybody should have podcasts and talks and shows, and the technology is there to talk, man. Like,
It's there for
talk,
the taking.
change the fucking world, man. Like that's like, use this shit for its work. It's free. Maybe they're tracking all our shit, whatever. But like,
Who
use it.
knows?
You use it, like, and let's do some, make positive moves. So yeah, of course, it's always dope, and salute to everybody joining in. We had a lot of people rocking with us tonight, and irregulars and new people and dialogue, and so always good comments, man. So thank you, man. It's always fun when people participate. So we appreciate you.
Absolutely.